immigrants and foreigners against Americans. And that's what the us versus them can look like. But I think Jesse Jackson saw a path for Democrats to take that form of populism and make it operable in a very diverse political party where you have all of these different groups who have different needs, but he thought that they could be unified under an umbrella of shared economic interests.
Right. And so he's more similar to Bernie Sanders in that way than Barack Obama. And it's
Very
perhaps
much so.
unfair.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's perhaps unfair to only compare him to Barack Obama. And we're not only doing that, but there is one other thing I wanted to point out, which is that you said earlier, both he and Obama gained fame initially for their anti-war stance. But as you know, Obama's anti-war stance was much, much more nuanced and subtle and always expressed as I'm not against all wars, I'm against dumb wars. And I was looking at some of Jackson's statements, and because they were so rhetorically powerful, sometimes they lacked nuance. But I also think because his international instincts lacked nuance, it lended itself to powerful comments. I went back. I watched the 88 DNC speech. He says a couple things that I think are just wrong, and this isn't international. He talked about Reaganomics, believing that the poor had too much money. I guess that's just rhetoric. He asserted that Reagan wanted a 20% tax cut for the rich. True, technically, highest rates went from 70 to 50, and the poorest got a 20% tax rise. I tried to look all over to what that's based on. It seemed just to be based on it's a good rhetorical flourish. It's not true. But he also said, and in this way, he's similar to Trump, and maybe it is populist. We're spending $150 billion to protect Japan and Germany, but Japan and Germany are creditor nations. We're a debtor nation. Let them protect themselves.
This is why I say that ideologically, I don't really think that Jesse Jackson and Obama really have that much in common. It is closer to, on the domestic front, Bernie Sanders's politics. But actually, I'll say this, two parts of it. One is the rhetorical flourish, maybe the exaggeration, maybe the papering over of nuance. That to me is much more reminiscent of a kind of Trumpian approach to politics. And I think that both of them, both Jesse Jackson and Trump, you have to remember in the 80s, they were actually very similarly situated, at least ideologically at that time.
At least that one time in Trump Tower when they got stuck on an escalator together,
Yeah,
right?
but I mean, remember, Trump has been complaining about Japan cleaning our clocks in trade since the 80s. But his philosophy then about trade and about how our international commitments are making it more difficult for us to focus on our commitments to our citizens at home. That was Trump in the 80s. That was also a little bit Jesse Jackson in the 80s.